already on that.
I have you, Mr. Jim.
Get out of the way.
That's right.
John, we got a front row seat here if you want one.
You can see the TV better. Yeah, we're gonna start having a comedy show before the meeting. Oh, I'd have so much fun. We can always, I can see if we can really make some money. Oh, we're gonna watch the polls open. We're gonna do it after, well, I guess it's
Wait about a month.
Oh, they can play it. They got one picture.
2.5 minutes. To approve? That's right.
How much is 2.5 minutes cost?
Call this meeting to order. Invocation led by Mr. Patrick Abear.
Name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the blessings you have bestowed on us during this Lenten season. We thank you for the guidance that you give us to offer our small sacrifices during this Lenten season, and ask that you put in our hearts to understand the ultimate sacrifice that so many soldiers have given for this country. We ask that you protect the men and women of our great military, fire, and police department and their families. We ask that you guide our minds in doing the work of the people that we serve. In Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Mr. Bennett, will lead us in pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is reading of the minutes.
No, we got roll call.
A roll call.
Thank you, sir. Reverend Matthews.
Present.
Mr. Ina.
Here.
Mr. Lander.
Present.
Mr. Ramsey.
Here.
Mr. Rolfe.
Present.
Mr. Abear.
Present.
Mr. Bennett.
Here.
Mr. Duhon.
Here.
Mrs. Hidalgo. Here. Dr. Rink. Present. And Mr. Adams.
Here.
You have a quorum present, sir.
Okay, next up is reading of the minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes and accept as written.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Olander to approve the minutes as written. Seconded by Mr. Ramsey. state your name for the record.
Tim Gilmore, 1317 Burke Place, Bayou Vista. First of all, I'd like to thank all the members, all the new members of the government for your duty. Hope everybody does a good job. We need everybody's help, okay? First of all, I'm the publicity director for the Bayou Horseshoe Pitchers Association. I've been 24 years. I've been the state director for publicity for 5 years now. And the reason I'm here to invite y'all to the Day in the Park. It's starting of our new season. We're going to have new players out there. We're going to have old players. We're going to have, hopefully, some of you guys that come out. If you haven't been out to our park, guys, you're missing it. We got 22 pits. We got the largest in the state, okay, and probably one of the largest in the South. We've been a model program recognized by the president of the Horseshoe Tour, okay, and we've also been recognized by the fifth vice president of the National Horseshoe Pitchers Association, okay. So we have a great club. We have it's not a big club, but we're looking to grow, okay. One thing I want to let y'all know, like y'all come out, like I said, we normally get somebody to come out through the first pitch. David's been out there. I hope he comes out. Last time he threw a ringer, he said he retired. I don't know, you know. So anyway, we'd like y'all to come out. Y'all enjoy the day. Spend the day, the food's on us. Soft drinks, water, Cokes, adult beverages, bring your own. So
When is this?
it's gonna be Saturday, the 14th, at 10 o'clock at Kemp Williams Park. This year, we're gonna host the Louisiana State Mixed Doubles State Championships in May. We're gonna host the Cajun Coast Doubles in October, and we're gonna host the Cajun Coast Classic, which is part of the Horseshoe Tour. Last year, we had 80-something members from around the United States pitching. We had 16 states represented, all the way from Texas, all the way up to Massachusetts, up into Kentucky, okay? So it's a pretty good event. Some of y'all have been there and meet a lot of good people. We have some of the top horseshoe pitchers that will attend this. We've had the top 2 men in the world. We've had like 5 or 6 of the top women in the world. We've had 3 or 4 of the top elders in the world pitching this tournament, okay? It's fun, it's exciting. It's not really a spectator sport, but you come out there, you see the people, you'll really enjoy it, okay? Also, we'll host 7, 8 tournaments during the year. We also have 2 tournaments for St. Jude's. And also, we also sponsor a tournament for the National Horseshoe Pitchers Hall of Fame in Wentzville, Missouri. And we send the money in annually in honor of our fallen horseshoe players. One thing is, our shoes fit everyone. So we'd like y'all to come on out, enjoy it, the public also, okay? We've been advertising on Facebook, the paper, the Tesh Talk, Facebook, you know, the whole, it's been in the paper, yes, so I'd like y'all to come out and enjoy the day. You know, we're gonna also have a high-low tournament. It's gonna be a horseshoe mania. It's gonna be a high player match with a low player. It's gonna be a different partner every round, so you get to pitch with different people, okay? A fun day. Any questions?
Are you gonna give out any pointers before?
We'll give out as many pointers as you like. We can't say they'll be right, but we'll give you pointers.
Good.
Weak.
Yeah, really.
Weak.
We've got some good pitchers out there. We can point y'all in the right direction, really.
Well, I won't be in town Saturday. I wish I would, because, boy, I'd sure attend it.
Well,
I appreciate what y'all do, though.
Mr. President?
Mr. Orlando, that's pretty weak if you need pointers to throw horseshoes, okay? Just saying, sir.
Yeah, but because you lucked up and hit a ringer one time,
I'm not
that don't
calling
classify
you
you as
out.
a pro.
I'm not calling you out. No, wait a second, I am calling you out.
Yeah, you are.
It's pretty weak, okay? No, it's good. No, it's a great event, Mr. Tim. I tell you what, I enjoy going every year. I know Councilman Hidalgo, we always go, plus several other council members that go every year to it. Great event, brings a great notoriety to St. Mary Parish, and it's good overall fun. And I'll definitely be there.
Well, the past few years, we've been unlucky. We've had some bad weather. It's rained, it's been cold. This year, it looks like it's going to be pretty good, hopefully, anyway. But anyway, that's all I got to say, and hopefully we'll see y'all out there.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank y'all, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Tim.
Next up is public comment. Okay, moving right along, executive session, Mr. Matthews.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, if it pleases the council, I would like to move item 17D up at this time. That's
Okay.
okay? If there's no objection?
Any objections?
Okay, thank you. With that said, I'd like to go ahead and have item 8 and 17D removed from the agenda at this time.
Do you have any objections? Comment?
Yeah, I'd like to make a little quick statement, Chairman.
Go ahead.
I commend you for pulling this, Councilman Matthews and Parish President Hannaford. I'm just gonna say it real quick, I'm not gonna get wide open at a council meeting, but it's things I wanna address, how this went down. I'm not happy how it went down, I'm not happy how I'm happy how it unfolded at the end, but there were some issues with this, I want it to be known that wasn't done right in my book, and I will address it a little later on. But thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, moving along.
Are we voting on it?
No, we don't vote on
Don't
it.
vote?
Okay, report from Mr. Hanegraaff.
Mr. Chairman, I really don't have much of a report. I was going to make a comment or statement that the Special Olympics was going to hold their regional meeting this Friday, which was Vermilion, Iberia, and St. Mary, at West St. Mary, but it was, unfortunately, it was canceled. So I was going to unveil the torch yet again.
That, clarify, that came from the state.
Came from the
That wasn't
state.
local.
Correct. And again, which leads into the next topic of discussion, which everyone we're dealing with this entire country, is the coronavirus and the impact we're having right now throughout the country. My personal opinion is just my personal opinion. Of course, I am not a scientist by any means. I think it's a shame that we're going to the extent that we're doing right now. Of course, we need to be diligent. We need to wash our hands. We need to be understanding of what's going on. But I think it's an epidemic right now that's taken a life of its own. I truly believe personally that's being politicized, and I think us as a country and even as a parish should unite and live our lives like we should. Again, I am not a doctor by any means, but I know that if you don't have the symptoms, you don't have the disease. So if you have the symptoms, get tested. Other than that, live your life. Go to the store, spend your money, support St. Mary Parish, and live. That's what I have to say on that, going forward. And of course, the other item I want to touch on base on is, of course, the stock market. Of course, everyone saw what the price of oil did. I know it's something we don't necessarily want to look at or see, but this is what I'm preaching, okay? That St. Mary Parish, our economy is very fragile. And unfortunately, we are related directly to oil field. The state of Louisiana is directly related to oil field. So with that being said, we need to do what we can in anywhere, any shape, way, shape, or form to save money, to consolidate, to do what we can to lower taxes and to lower millage rates throughout St. Mary Parish. That's the only thing we have control over. As a government body, we cannot control the price of oil, but we can control our infrastructure and we can control our tax base. And that's all I have to say. Thank you, sir.
Next up, Mr. LaGrange.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. The items in my report are informational. Relative to item 1, this is something that may be coming up in future council meeting, and that is a request from the fire chief of the city of Franklin that we create or separate an existing fire district into 2 fire districts pertaining to the city of Franklin. The request is to make the city of Franklin, the boundaries of the city limits of the city of Franklin as 1 fire district, and then the remaining areas of Fire District 5 will continue to be Fire District 5. And so the purpose is, the fire chief is telling me that the Property Insurance Association of Louisiana comes in every so many years and rates the fire service areas or fire districts or fire departments for purposes of classifying, for insurance rating purposes, classification of the property in the district. Currently, the city of Franklin, all property within the city limits of Franklin is a Class 5. Outside the city limits, within Fire District 5 is a Class 6. Chief Bourgeois says that he'd like to keep the Class 5 with the city. However, he says that the Property Insurance Association says that they have to be classified as a separate fire district. So that would entail the parish council adopting an appropriate ordinance to accomplish that. So we'll be working on that and following up to get more information, but I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. Also, as a point of history, in the 90s, it just so happens that there were separate fire districts. It was Fire District 5 and Fire District 5A. And for some reason, around 1997, the parish council combined them back into Fire District 5. And now we're being asked to separate them again, so I'm not sure why, but
Must have been a reason.
so it's all coming from the Property Insurance Association of Louisiana. It's kind of driving that. And of course, we want to do everything we can to make sure that any properties anywhere maintains the lowest classification that they can get, because that relates to fire insurance premiums for the property owners within those boundaries. So we may be introducing an ordinance for your consideration, in a future meeting. And that's all that I have.
Any questions?
Yeah, I have one question, maybe either you, Bo, or President Hannegriff could maybe address it. On the mosquito abatement program, can you give us an update? I know we've been doing that now for, 6, 8 months. Tell us maybe where we at, and are we on budget, over budget, where we at?
Okay. I'd like to answer that. Again, because if you all recall, I was pushing to do an in-house program. At the time, we were receiving a $250,000 grant, which meant we were able to buy and purchase every piece of equipment, the trucks, the automobile, the chemicals, and everything else, at no cost to the parish. Set up the entire program. Before that, we're spending $250,000 per year. And that was basically the max amount, because myself and Councilman Hidalgo back in the day capped it. Because before that, we're spending $300, $350. So we put a cap at $250. At the time when we did it, I think our budget was about $170, $180 is what we said we could save by doing this, by consolidating. And if you recall, it failed one time, then we brought it up again, and it passed by a 6-5 vote. 5 people voted against it. I'm happy to report that last year, our total budget for the mosquito control was $120,000, with more spraying and less complaints. So you can't argue with the numbers. It's a great program, and it didn't cost the people of St. Mary Parish a penny to set up. So keep that in mind. We went from $250, we thought it was going to be $180, $170, $120, more spraying, less complaints. So I want to applaud everyone that voted for it at the time, and we're going to continue with the great service we provide St. Mary Parish.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Any other comments?
Yeah, Mr. Bowe, I have a question for you. Could you get us information on what is contained within the current district? What areas are the boundaries for the current
Sure.
Fire District 5?
Sure. Fire District 5 is basically the boundaries of Ward 3, which is, Ward 3 line on the eastern side of the parish is just towards Centerville, east of Garden City, a little east of the Garden City interchange exit. And then the western boundary is more or less, it kind of cuts across from Columbia subdivision. It's a small area, the Yoakley Genevieve area and Katy Circle area, and going up Irish Bend Road before you get to Oaklawn is in Ward 10. But the rest of the area, St. Joseph, rest of Irish Bend, Bakertown, Garden City, Chatsworth, all unincorporated areas of Ward 3 and the city of Franklin make up the boundaries pretty much.
So the city of Franklin basically is going to split that. 5A is
Right.
going to be the outside part.
That's correct. No, 5A will be the city, and 5 will
5
continue to
would
be the outside.
unincorporated.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? All right, moving along, Miss Lisa's got a little video to show. Y'all want to come this way, y'all can see what she's fixing to
Yeah.
play.
You want to give a little?
It lasts about 2.5, 3 minutes.
You want to give a little? You want me to give a
Go
little?
ahead, give a little.
Some of the council members went to Washington DC for legislative conference. President Hannah Griff, myself, Councilwoman Rink, Councilman Olander, and Councilman Matthews went to Washington DC. Every year we go up there for the legislative conference and get briefed and update. We meet with our councilmen, our congressmen, and our senators while we up there. And it's a pretty big deal. And we had a distinct honor of being able to do the presentation of the wreath at the Arlington Cemetery. You ever been in a cemetery, you know how somber that place is when you go there, and just a great place to visit. And we had one of our members in our parish, William Gill. We sent him all the videos and pictures we took, and he made a short little clip with it. And man, kudos to him. He done such a great job. So that's what they're going to share now.
Can't afford to go to that, man. You know, maybe to change some stuff, I might be able to go. Right, that's you now. Look like a damn Secret Service, right? Like you should be about to go to the president or somebody. It's David and Goliath. Here we go.
Oh, really?
Oh, wait a minute, Lisa's gonna move the screen. Okay, next up is item 11 and 12 is for informational purposes only.
I have some.
Go ahead, Mr. Ina.
On item 12, report of meetings other than council meetings. On Monday, the Charter Review Committee met here in the chambers. Several council men and ladies were here. The Charter Review Committee wrapped up the review of the charter. I want to commend that group for doing an outstanding job. It took a while, but they got it done. I'm very, very confident that that group is going to bring some recommendations to the council that is going to be very pleasing to our constituents. And when we get an opportunity to, look at those changes, I think there's going to be some things that we can do to move our charter and our parish forward. They did an excellent job, and I just really want to commend those gentlemen and lady for doing so. It was, I don't know exactly when we'll get the recommendation, but it'll be here pretty soon, and we'll have something to present to the council. But I think one thing that was really good about it was when they made some decisions, they were unanimous, right? So it was, 9, I think, that were there, and some of those recommendations, they were unanimous in vote. So that meant that everybody on that group felt the same. So I'm pleased at that. So I just want to commend them and let the constituents know that here pretty soon we'll have some recommendations to kind of take a look at to potentially make some changes to our charter here in the near future.
All right, thank you. Any other comments on? Next up is item 13, introduction of ordinances. None? Okay. Adoption of ordinances. Reading to the record.
For adoption, it's an ordinance in compliance with ordinance number 1973, Chapter 5 Procedures, Divisions 5.4 General Procedures for the public hearing, Sections 5.4.2 Rezonings, zoning map amendments for Esther Brown. Mr. Bennett?
I got a motion by Mr. Bennett to move on that.
Second.
A second by Mr. Olander. Roll call vote, please.
Thank you, sir. This is on 14A. Reverend Matthews.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ina.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Orlander.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ramsey.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Rolfe.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Abear.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Bennett.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Duhon.
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Hidalgo.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Rink.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Adams.
Yes, ma'am.
We have 11 yeas, and the ordinance carries. Thank you.
Next up is item 15A. Susie, you want to read it?
Yes, sir. 15A is a resolution of respect and memory of the former Senator Dudley Butch Anthony Gotro. Mr. Bennett?
I'd like to move on that.
Okay. Seconded by the council.
Seconded by a motion by Mr. Bennett, seconded by the council.
Want to say a few words? You could, okay. Yeah.
Okay, item.
Oh, wait, we
fif-
have to do a roll call. Okay. By the council. This is on 15A. Mr. Ina.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Orlander.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ramsey.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Rolfe.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Abear.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Bennett.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Duhon.
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Hidalgo.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Rink.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Adams.
Yes, ma'am.
And Reverend Matthews.
Yes, ma'am.
We have 11 yeas, and the resolution carries. Thank you.
Item 15B, resolution of respect.
This is a resolution of respect and memory of Mr. Joe J. Glenn. Mr. Bennett,
I'd like to move on that.
Got a motion by Mr. Bennett to move on that one,
seconded by the council.
seconded by the council. Roll call vote, please.
Thank you, sir. This is on 15B. Mr. Orlander.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ramsey.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Rolfe.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Abear.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Bennett.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Duhon.
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Hidalgo.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Rink.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Adams.
Yes, ma'am.
Reverend Matthews.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ina.
Yes, ma'am.
11 yeas, and the resolution carries. Thank you.
Want to read,
Yes, I'm going to read 13C through F into the record.
okay.
15.
Oh, I'm sorry,
15.
15, thank you. Okay, 15C, a resolution ratifying a previously executed federally funded public assistance state agreement with the Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness, GOSEP, relative to the declaration designated FEMA DR 4458 LA for the state of Louisiana as a result of Hurricane Barry. D is a resolution ratifying a previously executed federally funded public assistance state agreement with the Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness, GOSEP, relative to the declaration designated FEMA DR 4462 LA for the state of Louisiana as a result of the Louisiana flooding. E is a resolution supporting the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution and declaring St. Mary Parish as a Second Amendment sanctuary parish. And F is a resolution approving and authorizing the parish president to execute a facility participation agreement and amendment to the agreement with Humana Behavioral Health Incorporated relative to the reimbursement of services at the Fairview Treatment Center. What is your wishes?
I move that we accept 15C through F.
Got a motion to approve 15C through F? Second. Second by Mr. Olander. Any discussion?
Yeah, I just have one question. What is the Second Amendment sanctuary parish? Can you describe that for me, Mr. Was that Mr. Rams?
Yes, sir. What it does, the Second Amendment gives us the right to keep and bear arms. And what this does, it declares the St. Mary Parish is a Second Amendment sanctuary parish. And the resolution that you see before you is an evolution. It's going through several redrafts. The one that you have now was last prepared by Mr. Duplantis in the District Attorney's Office, of course, with my input and with the input of several others in the District Attorney's Office. It's been approved by the Sheriff, Mr. Hanegraaff, our President, approves it as well. And it's simply stating that this parish will make sure that the Second Amendment is enforced.
Good enough.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Need a roll call?
Mr. Chairman, if it pleases the council, can you please separate that item from the rest of them and do that individually, please?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Abear, would you be okay with that?
Sure.
Okay, Mr. Abear would like to change his motion.
Change it from 15C,
C.
D, and F.
I'll second that.
Second by
Thank
Mr.
you.
Olander.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, we'll take out 15C, D, and F first. Roll call vote, please.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Ramsey,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Rolfe,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Abear,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Duhon,
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Hidalgo,
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Rink,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Adams,
Yes, ma'am.
Reverend Matthews,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ina.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Orlander.
Yes, ma'am.
We have 11 yeas and the resolution's carry. Thank you.
Okay, item 15E.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move on item 15E.
I'll second it.
Got a motion by Mr. Ramsey to move on 15E. Got a second by Mr. Olander. Roll call vote, please.
Sir. 15E.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Rolfe.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Abear.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Bennett.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Duhon.
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Hidalgo.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Rink.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Adams.
Yes, ma'am.
Reverend Matthews.
I will abstain, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Ina.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Orlander.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Ramsey.
Yes, ma'am.
We have 10 yeas and 1 abstain, and the resolution carries. Thank you.
Okay, next up is no old business. Next is new business. Mr. Moffett, informational purposes only. 15B,
17.
17B. Bennett, you had something?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to expand the agenda to add on 2 names I have for District 7 appointee.
Got a motion by Mr. Bennett to expand the agenda.
I second.
Got a second by Mr. Abear. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, go ahead.
I'd like to name the 2 nominees, Charles Solar Jr., Kenneth Arsenault Jr.
Motion in a second. Motion by Mr. Bennett. We need a second.
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 Second by Mr. Abear. All in favor?
Aye.
Could you repeat the names one more time, please?
Charles Solar Jr., Kenneth Arsenault Jr.
Okay, thank you.
You all.
Mr. Chairman, point of procedure, please.
Yes, sir.
It was our understanding that these nominations were to be closed last week at noon. I forget which day it was, whether it was Wednesday or Thursday.
Friday.
Friday?
Yes, sir.
I had several people that were willing to serve, and the incumbent came forth at the very last moment and said that he would like to get on there, so I withheld turning in anybody else. Come to find out, the incumbent had failed to fill out the form, and it wasn't able to be turned in until, I think, several hours after
On the Friday.
the deadline. Proceed next time.
I'll second that, if that's a motion.
It is.
I'll second that.
Yes, sir.
Motion to table.
Who talked to the governor's office?
Who spoke to the governor's office?
Mr. Duhon?
Is that?
Mr. Eric,
Yes.
is this,
I'm not aware of any conversation that,
okay, is it legal for us to do this?
if you to do what?
To table it and reopen it
Submit
for,
other names later.
It seems to me you'd have two options. If you could vote nominations as they exist now and then put it on the agenda to add some new ones if they're gonna leave it open. That way you would have met, you would have submitted some of the names, or you can table it, and if whoever called is correct, then it wouldn't be a problem. But I'm concerned, because I wasn't part of that conversation, so I don't know that, but you could pass it as exists and then put it on the next agenda again and add the new names for those people who hadn't had an opportunity to select the people that went.
Well, Mr. Prince, I understand that particular statute. I don't have the citation because I wasn't prepared for this to come up right now. But it requires the issuance of a letter from the governor's office to say, put your people on there, and that letter has not yet been issued.
I understand, Mr. Ramsey, I'm just telling you my
Yes, sir.
appreciation.
Yes, sir.
The safer thing would be to pass it, but if y'all could do it,
Mr. Chairman,
Either way.
Yes, sir.
I would like to err on the side of caution, and rather than, nominating these people tonight and taking the chance that we won't be able to submit anymore, if we just wait 2 more weeks, get all of these spaces filled, and then we submit them all at that time would be my, if I had my druthers, that's what we would do,
The motion on the floor is to table. and
to
that-
table it
that would-
until we could do that.
Okay, we
Right.
got a motion and a second on the
14
floor to
days.
table it. Let's do a roll call vote, please.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Abear?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Bennett?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Duhon?
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Hidalgo?
No, ma'am.
Dr. Rink?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Adams?
No, ma'am.
Reverend Matthews?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ina?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Orlander?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Ramsey?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Rolfe?
No, ma'am.
We have 4 yeas and 7 nays, and it fails. So we will,
Okay, so
Now we need a motion.
now we need a motion to appoint the ones that's on the list.
yes, sir.
Well, and motion's not to appoint, because we cannot appoint.
Submit the name.
All we can do is submit names.
Yes.
Nominees.
I make a motion that we submit these names tonight, and if they want to submit more later, submit the names at another time.
Got a motion by Mr. Abear to submit the nominees on the list. A second by Mr. Bennett. Roll call vote, or no?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to amend that to indicate that the districts that do not have 3 members will have the opportunity to submit the remaining members at the next meeting.
I'll second that motion.
Mr. Abear, put that in his motion.
You want to put that in your motion?
Yeah,
You be okay with that, Mr.
absolutely.
Ask
Okay.
Mr. Ramsey if he's okay.
You okay with that? Okay.
Well, my motion was to be able to add additional names.
Okay.
Is what I said.
All
And you
right.
can submit additional names.
But for the people that don't have 3 on their list.
Correct, just the motion can
Right.
submit. So that's the only people that can submit names.
Okay.
So if we can just make sure that the minutes reflect that.
That, we have District 1, 2,
I've been seen it twice, so it's on the record.
5, and 7 all have slots open, they could add additional name.
Wonderful.
And yes, he just
Right.
added this too.
Right.
And if you don't mind, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read this into the record. As per the LAOS 38291, the St. Mary Parish Council is responsible for submitting a list containing 3 nominations from each of the 8 single-member parish council districts. The governor shall appoint 1 member to represent each district. Applications for the nominations to the St. Mary Levy District. Under District 1, we have Wilson Terry. District 2, Luther Smith. District 3, Juniors Abear Jr., Roy Morton, and John Simone. District 4, Jeremy Chastain, Daniel Leafrey. District 5, Ms. Miranda Weinbach, she has withdrew her application. So it'll be Mr. Gerald C. Folkard and Mike Ortiz. District 6 is Barry Broussard. District 7 was no nominations, but Mr. Bennett did it earlier. And District 8 is Janice Richard Okra, Edmund May Woods, and Norris J. Kreppel. Thank you.
Okay, got a motion, I need a second.
You did, Mr. Bennett.
Mr. Bennett? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Bennett. Mr. Duhon. Mrs. Hidalgo.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Rink.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Adams.
Yes, ma'am.
Reverend Matthews.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ina.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Orlando.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ramsey.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ruff.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Abear.
Yes, ma'am.
We have 11 yeas and it passes. Thank you.
Next up, item 17C. Ms. Wright?
I'm going to move to allocate funds of $3,000 from Wards 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 10, 3/10 sales tax to the city of Franklin for the purchase of dirt and improvement of their fields to improve the facilities for the Franklin Youth Baseball Organization for this summer.
Got a motion by Ms. Wright. Have a second?
I'll second it.
A second by Ms. Hidalgo.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
What Dr. Rank stated is different than what's listed here on the ordinance, correct?
Yes, sir, on the agenda.
On the
Yes,
agenda,
sir.
right?
We were going to read it into the record, and then she was going to make that change with the amended verbiage. So it states here, Dr. Fraser Rank to request an allocation of $3,000 from Wards 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, and 10, 3/10 sales tax fund to the city of Franklin for recreational equipment for the Franklin Youth Baseball Organization. Since that time, we received a letter, which is in your packet, from the Franklin Youth Baseball Organization, and they specified what they needed the money for, $3,000 to help purchase dirt for their 4 infields. So she is asking now if you would, she's going to change her motion with this and see if y'all are okay with having that.
Mr. Duplantis, can we change it like that?
The clause in the 3-cent sales tax says that it would be proper to use the funds for recreational facilities. So, recreational equipment is kind of vague, we don't know what that means. We only know what it means. It means dirt for a baseball field, which is, I think, certainly a facility. So it wouldn't be proper to amend this motion to